Hey, this lesson we're going to do some circles. So let's go back into the editor and create a brand new file. And we can call this one. So just save this file. And I'm going to save this file as circles.js. So it's a JavaScript file. And we'll do all of the connections, making the selection of the canvas. Update it within your index.html file, and you can refresh it just to make sure that you still have the canvas element. And then going back into Canvas, let's make a connection. So the first thing that we always need to do is we need to connect to the canvas element object. So let's set up that connection, doing canvas. And you can give it any variable name that you want. And document. And then using query selector, we're going to select the element with the ID of canvas. So selecting that into an object format, and we'll use CTX as well as the variable name. And then selecting the canvas object, we're going to apply the get context and set the context so that we can draw within the canvas. And so what we want to do this time is we want to draw a circle. So let's set up and use the CTX begin path method, and that should actually be CTX begin path. So we'll start the path of the new object that we're drawing, and there's CTX arc, which is used to draw the circle, and this one requires a number of parameters. So it's got an X and Y position, as well as the radius number, the start angle, the end angle, and if we're going clockwise, and this is requiring a Boolean value. So there's 6 parameters that are needed there. The starting position, let's do the circle right in the center. We'll do a radius of 100 for the circle. The starting angle, if you want a full circle, you can do it as 0 for the starting angle. And then also to apply the ending angle, this is where we're going to be using pi. So pi, where it's actually math pi, as we're just using the JavaScript math pi. So what it does is it's a ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter, so approximately 3.14. And for those of you that are familiar with pi, you know there never ends. It's a decimal place going all the way down to an infinite amount of digits. And also let's apply the CTX stroke so that we can see the circle that we're drawing. And notice that it's a half circle because this is having a end angle of pi, and in order to get the full circle you have to multiply pi by 2, and that will provide you the full 360-degree circle. If you want to fill, you can use the CTX fill in order to fill the circle. If you want to fill the circle as yellow, for instance, so fill style, and let's set the fill style to be yellow. And I'll just paste within the comments the parameters needed for the arc. So we need X and Y, which is we've selected the center. The radius is how far or how big the circle is going to be going out from the center. So the bigger the number, the bigger it is. The start angle, so this is a tricky one, and this is whatever angle you want to start the shape at. So if you cut it by 40, then it's going to start the angle at 40, and that's why we have it at 0, or we have one of those start angles or end angles at 0, so that allows us to do the full circle. And then there's clockwise or anti-clockwise. So in this case, it doesn't actually matter because we're doing a full circle, but by default is clockwise. So starting out wherever the starting position is, and it will draw the circle to how many points we want to draw it to. So you can always adjust that. So the default is clockwise, and you can also use the Boolean value of false to be anti-clockwise, so going the other way when you're drawing the circle. So now it's up to you. Go ahead and draw a circle, and then give it 2 eyes for adding in 2 more black circles on top of your face. And you can pause the video here, and I'll walk you through the solution coming up. So we want to add in 2 additional circles, and we want to make them black. So let's update the fill style, and they're both going to be black. So we don't have to update it after that because they're both going to be the same color. And CTX arc. And then we need to specify an X and Y position. So let's do 100, 100. The border radius, so these are eyes, so they're smaller. And 2, and multiply it by math pi. And so what happened here is that where we left off with the last path was just over here on the corner because we went full way around. And when we start out with the half circle, so if we just did the math pi, our ending position would have been over here. But because we went the full circle, our ending position was on this side of the circle, of this side of the arc. And JavaScript and Canvas end up creating the line. So what we need to do, we need to move it down quite a bit and over. And as well, we need to, the best way to get rid of this pen stroke in the line is to close the path and then open a new path. So if you do want to fill them, then this is the best way to go to begin new paths for each one of the eyes. So I'm just doing that where I'm closing the path, I'm adding in the fill for the fill style for one of the eyes, and then also closing it. And now we can duplicate it and adjust where it's located in order to get the eyeball correctly. And the code for each eyeball is going to be the same, so we can simply duplicate it, so copy the code and make a copy of it. And now let's make adjustments to where the arc position is, so where the X and Y position is. And sometimes you might have to try a few different numbers until you've got the right positioning. So 100 was a little bit too far off to the left. Let's update this from the top position to 200 and left to 150. Oops, still not right. So let's make one more adjustment to this to 200. And it looks like we still need to move it down slightly. And that's going to be roughly right where we can have the first eyeball on the left-hand side. And now let's take care of moving the other one over. So let's do it at 200 and 250. So that's the first one. And this one, let's set it at 400 and 250. So what we're doing is we're closing off the path so we don't have that extra line. And now let's update it with the move to option. And we're not going to be able to use fill for the move to. So if we want to just use the move to and move and create the strokes, we can do that. So I'm taking all of the stroke actions, putting it at the bottom. And now we've got kind of this messy option where we need to update where we've got the lines are starting. And that's where we can apply the CTX move to. And this requires the X and Y position where we're moving it to. So if we do 200 and 250, and then also I'm going to do another move to just above this one, and this one will move to 400 by 250, and you get these kind of lines here within the eyes. And that's because we've got the move to the corner here, but we're starting the arc in the center. So by default, it's taking that center position. So we need to adjust slightly, and because the arc is 40, we can adjust the X position of the arc or the move to over to another 40 points over, and that's going to be taking care of that line that's starting on the right hand side and moving into the center where we're drawing the arc. And do that for the other one as well, and moving this one over to 440, and that will take care of the lines in the middle. So that way you can draw the arcs and have the stroke values there for the arcs. So that's another option if you want to do it with just the strokes. And you do have to close off the path and start a new path if you want to fill. So you can bring back the begin path. And then if you did want to fill, we update the fill. If you want to fill it that way, this is another option as well. And then this it disappears where the lines are, but again, you do always have to update the fill. And let's move the fill down to the bottom. And because these are both within the same colors and it's not going to be overlapping, this gives us the ability to apply the fill to each one of these eyes. So that's another way, and that saves you opening and closing the paths a few times. So there was a number of ways to solve and to create this solution for this challenge. There was a number of ways to create the solution for this challenge.